Chair recognizes the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Lamborn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and for having this hearing. Mr. Knox, thank you for testifying today. I'd like to ask you some questions about your investigation into statements made by Director Pisarcik in November of 2011. In an answer to a question from me, Director Pisarcik stated that the 7,000 job loss figure was a placeholder and had no basis in fact and based on no evidence. In fact, let's look at a short clip of his testimony on the screen here.
This is not a job-killing rulemaking. The numbers to which you refer to were numbers that the contractor put together. Those numbers were fabricated based on placeholder numbers and have no basis in fact.
So has there been a second contractor who's come up with different numbers? Or you just don't believe what the first contractor came up with without any real evidence?
The numbers that the first contractor came up with were based on no evidence. They have no basis in fact.
There you see he looks pretty confident in his statements that these numbers are made up. However, your report lays out how the numbers were not pulled out of thin air. They were based on assumptions provided by the staff and were the result of considerable deliberation by the contractor. For example, the report describes how he was told after the numbers were leaked that they were based on good engineering practice and best professional judgment, quote unquote. And yet months later, in front of this very committee, he said that the numbers were made up. Would you agree with me that Director Pisarcik's testimony before this committee was not accurate?
Congressman, I don't feel I'm in a position to opine on the accuracy of his testimony. What I can say is when we spoke to Director Pisarcik in the course of our investigation, he expressed to us that he had been led to believe the things he said here before the committee were true, and that he was less aware of the process the contractor had undertaken to develop the numbers that were leaked.
Isn't the fact that a senior political appointee may not have provided accurate information to Congress something serious that the Inspector General's office should look into?
Congressman, our investigations are undertaken based on allegations of misconduct, of complaints made by concerned citizens about matters affecting the Department of the Interior. And to date, we don't have a clear case of a member of our department deliberately misleading the Congress.
Well, it appears that Director Pisarcik was either incompetent in not understanding the word placeholder at best, or he changed his tune over time to fit a political narrative resulting in misleading testimony to Congress at worst. Shouldn't his actions be the basis of further investigation?
In the course of our work, the explanation we received from Director Pisarcik and the other people we spoke to during the course of the case indicated that there were reasons for him believing that the 7,000 figure was a placeholder, as it was said, that the contractor themselves might have introduced that word into the description of that number, but that actually there was more depth to the analysis that derived the final conclusion, the final number of estimated job loss figures.
Mr. Knox, isn't it really true, and this is how it appears to many of us, that the original contractor was fired because the loss of 7,000 jobs is politically damaging? In other words, this is a case of killing the messenger because he carries bad news.
Well, sir, we decision not to extend the contract to the contractor. The fact is the contract with that contractor was not, in fact, terminated. It was it had run its course, and the option years, the option periods that were available for the government to exercise were not exercised.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I thank the